Ladies and gentlemen, this is a new interview with one of the biggest doctors in Turkey, Dr. Aly Oto. Welcome to Egypt, and thank you for this invite.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm honored. I've been coming to Egypt for professional purposes since 1990, when I was the president of the Mediterranean Association of Cardiology and Cardiovascular Surgery at that time. So we have established a strong friendship with my Egyptian cardiologist and cardiovascular surgeon colleagues. So since then we are having reciprocating visits to each other's congresses.
As I understand, this is not the first time to visit Egypt. So is it the first time?
Not really. No, of course, as I said, since 1990 for professional purposes.
So is it the
almost
first
every year? Yeah.
Is it the first time for you to join CardioAlex conference?
No, for many years since the very beginning. Yeah,
you've been.
And Professor Supi is a good friend of mine, and we have in good collaboration with him.
So how do you find it different this time, other than the previous times you attended?
Well, every year you realize improvement, and this is a great success story, this meeting. It is a success story in many ways. First, it is a real update. It is a real international meeting, and always put together good bunch of speakers, faculty, international faculty, and the meeting itself has a connection with many different international scientific bodies. So very well recognized meeting, and also the scientific quality of the program is very high.
I was about to ask you about the content. How did you find it so far?
Well, the content is always very good. Very carefully and professionally
organized.
Put together and organized, always. Since 1990, when I joined the first time to the National Congress. It was Pan-Arabic Congress. So we have a lot of improvements in relations and in science and education.
So from your point of view, do you think Egypt is strong enough to compete globally with this conference?
Definitely, and Egypt is a big culture. I mean, not only general, but scientific culture, and very strong in our field, in cardiology. So I always admire my Egyptian colleagues with their contribution to the universal science, global science, and their really ability to perform the procedures, and also their ability to disseminate the knowledge to their colleagues.
Away from medicine and science and such stuff, do you have any marginal hobbies? Do you support certain team globally? How do you spend your rough time?
Well, this is a good question, but I'm a very bad person with this regard. I used to have a lot of hobbies, but as really time goes by, I've lost all my
Don't you listen to music or something?
No time.
During operations, I know some doctors tune in some music during
music,
operations.
Yeah, some light music. That's it. But actually, medicine and in a general sense, cardiology in particular, takes all my time.
Dr. Oto, years ago you joined Faculty of Medicine. What pushed you to choose Faculty of Medicine indeed to join?
Very good question. Actually, I'm coming from a family of
medical family.
Family, I would say. My father was a pediatrician, and then well, probably I would like to follow my father, and my experience in my father's life.
You considered him a role model?
I guess so, yeah. And probably he gave us to love human being, and,
to help
them without any border, any objection, any
paying forward or something.
I mean, any discrimination. So I love medicine. I love cardiology, of course, in particular.
When you joined Faculty of Medicine, what invited you to be a cardiology or a cardiologist?
Well, cardiology is a really special field where you help your patient and you see the result immediately.
The production.
This is one thing. The second thing is that cardiovascular diseases now actually have been and will be #1 killer worldwide. Can you imagine? Nearly 20 million people are dying every year from cardiovascular diseases. So, if you are part of the fight against this, global endemics,
trying to save as much as you can.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I've served in professional medical societies internationally. So this is part of my philosophy to fight against cardiovascular diseases, to protect human being from those disorders.
Dr. Oto, I was pleased to have this little questions with you. I'll leave you now with Dr. Mustafa Alwani to ask you some medical questions, and you'll be my host once again, inshallah.
My pleasure.
My pleasure.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, Dr. Oto, today you were speaking about the complications of TAVI.
Yeah.
So, and since then
how to prevent it.
How to prevent these complications. First of all, I want to know your opinion. How do you evaluate the progress in the technology of transcatheter valve, aortic valve implantation?
Oh, yeah. Well, as you know, this is a real breakthrough and probably a real revolution to me in cardiology and cardiovascular medicine. When I started to my practice, most of my practice was related to rheumatic valvular diseases in my country at that time, nearly 60% perhaps. This is 40 years ago. Now I'm in my 39th year of practice. Well, over the years in my country, we have actually had a remarkable progress in fighting against rheumatic valvular diseases. Now it comes down, and it's not
that common
priority anymore. It's somewhere after many layers. But what happened over the years, as globally, we have the prolongation of life, and we are having more and more degenerative valvular disorders. So there's a real paradigm shift from rheumatic valvular diseases to degenerative valve disorders. Well, in this regard, of course, the aortic valve is the most frequently affected valve, heart valve, and the surgery has been the gold standard for many years, just to replace the aortic valve. But there are some cases, and with the, of course, prolongation of life, then you get more and more elderly people with many comorbidities and with polypharmacy, and with for that reason, and also maybe more importantly, frailty. So you have high-risk patients. So in such patients, surgery either is not feasible, or I mean very high risk, or impossible. So actually TAVI, or transcatheter aortic valve implantation or replacement, has been a good choice, good solution for such patients. And of course, with the development of technology and with the longer follow-up, most probably the TAVI will be going to the less risky patients, and it seems that there is a bright future for transcatheter valve replacement, and replacement for the mitral valve is on the way as well.
Okay. Yes, actually, my next question was to be: do you think that one day TAVI will replace the open heart surgery? Do you think? Or
well,
still?
I wouldn't like to. I mean, to
jump to conclusions?
To call just like black and white. Of course, the cardiology and cardiovascular surgery are always complementary to each other, and it seems that that there is a real promise, and most probably we'll have more and more transcatheter procedures in the future and less surgery. I would, I mean, in a balance, I would say so. Of course, as today I mentioned, this procedure is not, it's not a so big thing, but potentially it may result in serious complications.
So we want also to know about the experience of TAVI in Turkey, or even in the center that you are working in. How often, how many cases per year? How do you select the patient? Is there any financial problems? What's the obstacles towards using TAVI in your country? We want to know your opinion.
Transcatheter valve procedures is actually has been flourished over the last 4 or 5 years, and more and more centers are starting TAVI, and because cardiology in Turkey is very strong.
Yes.
And there are many centers with the capability of TAVI. So I don't remember the exact figure at the moment, but it should be several hundreds now per year. And the main obstacle actually are more or less the same as in Egypt. Of course, money. Money is the main obstacle, because this is a new technology and expensive, so it's restricted, but the government reimburses it.
And what valves do you use, or use several types of valves? What valves do you use?
Both.
Both. And you have
in Turkey, yeah, both.
Yes, and you prefer which type of valve?
Well, personally, I'm a core valve user, but it doesn't matter, It's just a matter of personal.
And from your point of view, the learning curve of the TAVI, is it a fast learning curve, or it's a slow learning curve? What do you think?
The learning curve, well, of course, you should have some experience. You should be an experienced interventional cardiologist first. The learning curve is not too long. You don't need to do too many cases, but of course, the perfection needs
time.
Really time.
Needs time.
And to me, 50 cases. My personal experience is that it is really needed for a self-confident operator to perform the cases by himself or herself.
Okay. Today you were speaking about the complications of the TAVI. So can you tell us about some complications that you met, or something that you memorize, or something that was, I have to tell other people about this complication so that they should take care?
Actually, I just in my talk I mentioned that some, actually 3 key issues. One is that the prevention is the key, is the main principle, because if you don't try to prevent complications, then when it happens, you have to try to solve it. Of course, it's better always to have the prevention, and The second thing is, of course, you have to give really enough attention to the details of the procedure. It shouldn't, I mentioned in my talk that it's like a checklist of a pilot. You have to follow step by step the checklist of the details. And if you just miss one or two details, then you may get into trouble. Of course, the very appropriate and careful patient selection, as well as the pre-procedural preparation, is another key issue. And then you follow and use your experience. Of course, in a percentage, any complication may happen. Then the second step is you have to know how to cope with the complication. This is the second critical issue. Of course, there are complications related to the access site, because you have to access somewhere to reach the heart. And in such cases now that we are facing with, or we are dealing with, the cases are usually with the very bad peripheral arterial system.
Yes, okay.
So this of course prepare the complications and the traps for you. And so the second set of complications is just related to the procedure itself. You have to really position optimally the heart valve,
yes.
the valve. If you are not, doing or positioning the heart, optimally, then you should expect complications. If you are putting or positioning the valve too low or too high, then yes. You may expect, or you should expect, different complications. Of course, the third set of complications are related to the systemic effects. You may get infection. Expect to get infection, tamponade, and some other systemic stroke and other complications.
So, based from your experience, and you have been a guest to CardioAlex for several years, and I think you have you're putting an eye on the Egyptian experience. So, if we ask you to give us a piece of advice, what do you advise us to improve our experience, to improve our practice? What's your advice?
For TAVI, you mean?
Yes, for TAVI.
For TAVI. Well, I've heard the Egyptian experience, which was very impressive. So, my colleagues in Egypt are doing very well. So, it's just a matter of organization and money to do more and to have progress.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Oto. It was an honor to have an interview with you.
My pleasure.
Dr. Aly Oto, thank you very much for your time and these precious moments we spent with you. Hope to see you one more time next CardioAlex Congress, inshallah 2015. Thank you so much for more. Thank you so much. Until we meet again. Thank you.
Okay.